Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. Just a quick disclaimer, I'm sorry about the echo in the voice. I've been trying to fix it for about a day now. Don't know what happened. I literally recorded a video literally yesterday trying with my normal voice, so I have no idea what happened. So I'm trying to fix it, trying to figure it out, but just until then, just bear with me. Just bear with me. I'll try to fix it by next video. Thank you so much, and please enjoy. Hello everybody, my name is Sonobadan, and today we'll be doing a war scenario by some person, a commenter, who should be somewhere on the screen. I want to put it somewhere on the screen, maybe the corner, or this corner, or this corner, or this corner, or maybe this corner, or maybe this in the middle screen. But yeah, this scenario is where Russia decides to start doing Soviet Union and things and communism things and starts to declare war on Europe and stuff. So if you enjoy, please like and subscribe if you enjoy it. I would greatly appreciate it. The support for the other video I made was absolutely crazy, so I appreciate it. And please enjoy. So the first act of business is ooh, Russia turns communist again. But there's gonna be two scenarios for this. First scenario is if they do it in modern day, and the second scenario would either be it being happening back before and after World War II. So there's different scenarios there, because you know. But I thought this one would be a lot more fun. So yeah. But um, NATO won't exist for this scenario because NATO kind of throws a wrench in all the plans of the expansion of Russia. So we're just gonna like have it not exist. Okay. So yeah. Alliances won't exist unless I specifically say they do, so yeah, it just makes the scenario more interesting. But anyway, Russia does Russia things. They Belarus is persuaded over to being communist. They become communist, and Russia and Belarus both declare war on Ukraine. Um, this war would go very bad for Ukraine. Um, Russia would retake their claims in Crimea, I think. I'm pretty sure that's Crimea, but I could be wrong, so don't quote me on that. They push down, connecting up with the Crimean claims, and they keep on pushing, um, cutting off Ukraine from their approaching Kiev, because they want Kiev. A slight bit of pushback is made in Belarus, because Belarus is a lot weaker than the Soviet Union, but you know, well, we wouldn't even call them Soviet Union; it'd be Russia. But the Russian front just keeps on going, as they're severely buffed in this scenario. So Belarus gains back all their claims that they had originally, and they start pushing down into Ukraine. They continue pushing down, and eventually Kiev is captured by the Russians, and that ends the war. Because, I don't exactly know what they're going to do when they have missing half their country. Their, country, I think it'd be Lviv. They would turn that into their capital, and peace would be made between the two countries, and the Ukraine would become a puppet state of the be a puppet state of Russia. So let's just turn it into like a color like that. So yeah, that's exactly about the color that would be. And Moldova would be kind of pressured in by Ukraine to join the Ukrainian province. The next countries that would be targeted would be the Baltic states. A war is declared on all of them. They're declared war on. Um, Leningrad is pushed into by Lithuania, but it kind of just stops at a certain point as absolute floods of troops start flocking across the border between the two countries. And yeah, it's not looking very good for them. So basically, some stuff happens. It's just a massacre. Um, yeah. Belarus does some things. Belarus does some Belarusian things, and they like cross the border a bit. But eventually, Kaliningrad starts to be pushed back by the Russians, and eventually Lithuania falls. Soon after, Estonia falls, and Latvia would take a little bit longer to fall, but it'll be there eventually, as you know. Yeah. In a realistic scenario, which I'm trying to be doing, there would be a Baltic union here to stabilize the states, but the map would be mighty crowded if I just kept on adding more and more and more and more provinces of stuff. So, yeah, I'm just not gonna do that. So yeah, next target of Russia would be the Finland. Um, Finland. Um, since the Russians are very buffed in this scenario, Finland would go down pretty easily. But in a realistic scenario, um, yeah, they would have some struggles. This war would be over years. They'd keep on surrounding these different lakes. They'd like cross across them and then surround them, and it eventually got to a point where it just total collapse of the Finnish government. As there's been just tons of coups and stuff trying to like overthrow the governments of the surrounding countries, and yeah, so eventually Finland falls over to the Soviet Union. They gain most of their land back, but some of it is still taken by the Soviet Union as they, are the Soviet Union and they want land. So they gain their land, but the Finnish become a communist country. The panhandle here gets taken by Sweden, because mostly because it's really ugly, but it's that's not the reason in the scenario. It's just because like yeah, I don't like it. It's really weird on the border. It just doesn't look good. But yeah, they gain these lands here, and yeah, and the Finnish become communist. They're gonna be a lot lighter of a communist color. They're gonna be like, yeah, that looks good. So the bloc of the communists are starting to grow. Um, as people are starting to get very scared of communism. The United States is going to be mostly staying out of the scenario, as the United States would absolutely swamp them. But I'm going to take my own liberty on this, and I'm going to have them expand more from just Europe. So, um, Georgia and these two are both declared war on Azerbaijan, I'm pretty sure. Yep. And they are pushed into relatively quickly. Um, Georgia's borders crumble as there's several stationed. Capital of Azerbaijan, which I do not know. Let's see what it is. Baku. Um, pushes in. They eventually fall, and so does Georgia. And I think it's Armenia just willingly goes over to them. So, yeah. Do not mistaken, Turkey is not communist yet, even though they are a reddish color. They're not communist. The next person that is going to be declared war on is Romania, specifically because they want to broaden the Ukrainian puppet state. They start pushing in, down, come trying to go for the capital. The capital is eventually taken. Right, no, this isn't the capital. They keep on pushing in. Massive pushes into the country are made, and I mean massive pushes. Eventually, Romania surrenders under peace terms to just not completely destroy their economy, but then they're reformed into a communist nation. Who would have guessed? So yeah, the alliance is becoming bigger and bigger. Um, there will be some countries that will be like uniting into one country as they are scared of falling over to communism or communist revolts because they are scared that they will be overthrown. So they bolster up into multiple countries. So Czechia turns into Czechoslovakia. The Bosnia and Herzegovina and Croatia both form a union, temporary union, and Montenegro. This would not happen in real life. This just like kind of a pact between these three countries would be made because that's just how it is. Um, but yeah, they like kind of form like a little like trifecta type thingy over here. Um, so yeah, this isn't looking very good for the countries here, huh? Um, yeah. So these the stands would like just kind of yeah. This would not happen in real life, but it is what it is. Um, Mongolia. I don't like Mongolia. Mongolia is kind of iffy. Its border state shapes are pretty cool, but I don't really like it, so they're just gonna have it like yeah. So China is absolutely 100% backing this new communist Russia because China love communist Russia, communist China like communist Russia because communist China is communist. So yeah. Um, and in this scenario, the world is kind of scared as, big country. Yeah. So, next people on the chopping block would be Poland, um, Hungary, Czechoslovakia, and Bulgaria. So these countries right here would become like on the chopping block for them. Um, a rapid push into Bulgaria will be made like nearly instantly by the Romanians as they need to kind of like just become a little bigger, because they don't really like their situation. They managed to slither down the coast, cutting off sea access to Bulgaria, which eventually just cripples them, causing them to be fully annexed into the Romanian um, puppet state. Both the Ukrainian and Romanian puppet states both um, start pushing into both these countries, Czechoslovakia and Hungary. They make minor progress. However, the geography here I think is pretty bad. I'm pretty sure, unless I'm wrong, which is entirely possible. But you know, they struggle to push up here. Um, their main focus is up here in Poland, as because after Poland falls, the rest of the front just kind of caves in as well. Um, so there is a push for the Belarusians that start pushing into the place. Ukraine also joins in on this push into Poland, and eventually Poland starts to fall as they are starting to feel very a ton of uh, revolts in their borders, and it just gets to a point where they just kind of start to like not very like this anymore, and yeah, it's not looking very good. Eventually, the surrounding countries, the country of Hungary falls. The surrounding countries start to gobble up the land, as it's a fallen government, so it's kind of like they're not really fighting for much. Um, Slovenia joins the alliance between the Croatians and Bosnian Herzegovinians, I think. Um, but yeah, Austria decides to stay out of this war, as they kind of don't really want to like have to deal with the communists, and eventually the rest of Hungary is made with together with a declaration of stuff, I think. God dang it. But yeah, basically the communists continue their push into the two countries. Um, it starts to strain the two, and Germany starts to step in and kind of like just yeah, they kind of just take some stuff as they realize the economics and it just they need to stabilize the country, but you know it's just too late for stabilizing the country. So eventually, they just collapse entirely. Um, the Ukrainian puppet state gets a little bit of this land right here, and then the rest just go to the surrounding countries. Um, yeah, they just kind of explode. Um, so basically, the Austrians get like this like little chunk of land here. But yeah, eventually, Poland starts to be pushed back as their initial campaign was a success, but as the days go by, it seems that they're starting to fall back. Eventually, their capital of Warsaw, Warsaw is taken by the Soviet Union, um, which just completely shatters their morale. They move their capital to the next major city, but it doesn't end well. Um, eventually they do surrender, non-willingly, but they still do surrender, and the Polish are made into another puppet state of the Soviet Union. Border squabbles are finalized as you know. There's a lot of border squabbles between these nations as they want to like kind of grow into something bigger, and you know, it's just they don't really know. Um, but yeah, this is what the nations look like. If you need a border map, oh, they need to join. Ukraine joins the alliance. Poland joins the alliance, etc., and stuff. You know, but now there is a real concern as they just took down Poland, which is one of the stronger nations in the other than Finland, but we don't talk about Finland. Finland kind of went down like kind of slowly, but a anti-Soviet Union league is made against the expansion of the Soviet Union any further. This is just NATO, but we don't tie. Just pretend it's not NATO, okay? Um. Uh. So basically, we just get rid of all these micronations because they're kind of in the way. So yeah, and Malta, you also go. The Benelux become one country as they do not want to suffer economic failure and turn communist, and you know how it is. Um, the several countries joined this anti a league against the communists. Um, and so does the Greece and Turkey. The people that don't like join it are Switzerland, Austria, um, Croatia, and top Slovenia, Croatia, and top Bosnia Herzegovina alliance. Serbia, because Serbia trusts that the Soviet Union wouldn't kill them, so they kind of just concede and become a communist nation because you know they think that they can like do all that. Um, eventual alliance will be made between these countries right here, even though it won't really matter in the end, because you know they're a lot smaller. And basically, there's these countries would become one, basically just forming Yugoslavia again, but without Slavia, or Serbia, yeah. Um, and they joined the alliance between the countries. So this is what the war. This is what the map looks like. Um, we see the. Let's leave and then like so we can make it like blue. There we go. So this is what the two sides of the war would look like. This is going to become a war scenario between the west and the east. That was just the build up. Okay. So, um, Iceland isn't a part of it because Iceland doesn't count. So the neutral nations would be Ireland, Switzerland, Liechtenstein, and Austria. Um, Military access would be requested by the Soviet bloc through Austria. They do refuse, though. It would have been cool if they didn't, but they do. So, and then the war starts. Yeah. Oh, no, not you. Oh, that's nukes. We don't like nukes. We don't talk about nukes here, okay? But yeah, it happens. The whole war happens, and everything goes to shit. Like literally immediately. Um, this war is looking extremely bad for both sides, and this war is going to be absolutely devastating. A quick and swift push from the Finnish puppet state. They start pushing up into the connecting branches between Norway and them. They continue pushing down into this area as they are very familiar with the cold temperatures. A major city is captured, and they start to take over the waters around here, which eventually just kind of fall over to them. This whole entire area just kind of turns into that. You know how it is. But then eventually Norway is pulled into the war. The Polish puppet state starts to do a reverse Germany. Um, they start pushing into Germany, and it just starts to go absolutely bonkers for the Germans. The Germans start to be pushed back as we're not prepared for this invasion in the remote slightest. Berlin is captured. They move their capital over to Hamburg, and they continue to be pushed back by the Polish. Um, and we're just gonna do this as we go. Like if we're gonna go down like into the other countries and stuff. So the Serbians are getting absolutely like they're basically just a shield for this Romanian colony, a Romanian thing. Um, the Romanians start to absolutely cut off both the Greek and Turkish troops. They continue pushing in. Um, Eventually, this colony would just kind of like become one. This kind of province would become one, and they'd start pushing on in a massive front line. Um, and it's not looking good for literally anybody. Russia would start pushing in from here a little bit, but it wouldn't be like a primary front because they don't really know what they're gonna do here anyway, so they're just kind of like putting a little bit less troops than they should here. They cross the Black Sea um, and push into the north of the Turkish country. Um, just to distinguish them a little bit more, I'm going to change the color of Turkey to a lot of a lighter red, but not too light because that's going to be ugly. This is just to decipher how that they're different. The Polish state continues their push, starting to spearhead for the second major city, which is Hamburg. They eventually take Hamburg and start to cut off Denmark from the rest of the countries. It's not looking good for Germany. Poland has started to be like steamed rolled over by the communists. They eventually fall in about a day. Not a day, but like very quickly, relatively. Um, and it's not looking good at all. Yeah, it's you know, eventually, Germany is just fucking destroyed. Um, Eventually, Germany is overthrown, and their government just kind of crackles, and eventually they're formed into a Soviet puppet state, um, which pieces out with these guys and becomes an alliance with them, and they become communist. This isn't looking good at all. Um, so both Denmark and Germany are turned into both to a communist um, puppet state, and yeah, this isn't looking good. The continued push into the countries up here is noticeable. Eventually, they pass this strait right here, and eventually, Sweden's capital is taken, causing them to promptly just disintegrate. Norway becomes annexes them to keep stability. They continue to push, trying to broaden this front. However, they continue steamrolling all troops over here. Eventually, the two front lines are caught up, and eventually, this entire like kind of area is kind of just like taken over by them. Um, the British keep on trying to supply support through via just naval bombings off the coast right here, but it's not really effective as they don't care. They continue pushing in, and eventually they just fall over to them as a Norwegian um, communist state is formed. Uh, yeah, we need this a little bit more communist colored. There we go. Okay. So continued pushes by this Romanian continent are made. Eventually, they just kind of this front just kind of crumples. Eventually, it's just destroyed, and then Italy has to do some fighting. You'll love to see it. Um, this German colony is kind of weak, to say the least, as it was just went through literal fierce war. It was just absolutely crumpling for their economy and everything, and it just didn't go well for them. So they continue their push in here. Their capital over here is turned into the Denmark's capital, because the German state is very unstable. So German state is literally just like um, kind of a like to move troops through. They're moving troops through them. They're not really like actually fighting a war right now because they're kind of unstable. Eventually, the Benelux fall over and massive amounts of troops just flood into France. Um, because the manpower on this country, on the Soviet Union, is absolutely insane at this point. They continue just like absolutely bolting it for Paris. Eventually, Paris is captured using the um, World War II strategies. Eventually, France is fucking just destroyed. They move their capital like to like Lyon. Lyon. They continue their pushes. Eventually, both Greece and Turkey both surrender over to the communists as they just can't fight this war anymore. Um, the Greece uh, they get kind of like some of their land back, but like the price for getting your land back is they're turned to communist um, by force. Communist. They are now communist. They're added an alliance to the alliance, and so is the Turkish. They the Russians get their kind of land claims over this area. Um, it's not very pretty. Um, they gain all this random garbage, and it's like it's not looking very good for them, is what I'm trying to say. Continued absolute destruction of ports. The British start to like get pushed back by naval fleets of the Soviet states. A land in Naples is made. I'm pretty sure it's Naples, but correct me if I'm wrong. Pushes are very slow over here as the fucking mountains here are absolutely insane. Um, yeah, it's not looking very good. The up north, the UK, the United Kingdom starts to be beaten out, as they start to be pushed into here, um, as the communists start to do that. Um, Eventually, the Faroe Islands are taken by them. Eventually, the United Kingdom is just beat. Um, the naval landing isn't able to be happened, so they just wait. Eventually, it'll be possible, they said. So they continue pushing into France. Eventually, more and more and more land is taken. It's just they're pushing down to try to like cut off the spearhead them, etc., because they kind of just want to get this war over with. They're pushing down into this, taking the second major city, and this just cripples France. France just dies basically. Yeah, France leaves the war. They can't. Um, Leaving them absolutely crippled. Um, they are given back these claims, and you know what that means. They're turned communist. Hooray! They leave the alliance. They're turned communist, and they join this one. Yeah. So, yeah, yeah. So, I don't know, guys. I think it might be slightly cooked in their favor, you know. But, fucking Spain just completely surrenders. Portugal and Spain become the Iberian Peninsula, and they just surrender over to the communists as they just don't want to fight this war anymore. So they become a communist state. Same thing happens with Italy, because Italy just doesn't want to fight this war. So they peace out. However, heavy land losses are made by Italy, as the southern part of Naples and surrounding areas are confiscated. Wait, no, never mind. That doesn't make any sense. They're turning communist anyway. It doesn't matter. Um, yeah, they lose slight bits of country in the north, and they're turned communist. So they joined this. You know, they're turned communist. They join the alliance, and it's just the United Kingdom now. It's the United Kingdom against literally every single country, and, you know, that isn't going to end very well. So the United Kingdom surrenders. They make peace. Organizations are made where the United Kingdom gets to keep their democracy, as the Soviet Union doesn't really care about them as much anymore, because they have literally every other country under their belt in Europe, so they don't really care about them, so they let them live. Due to a civil unrest in the United Kingdom, the Ireland reunites their island, and yeah, Europe isn't looking too good. So now I got the European the dominated Europe, if it was dominated by the communists. I will clean up these borders a little bit though. They are kind of ugly. Um, the I do think that a Baltic type of, let's spawn a nation here. So let's see. Let's just make this the so like so what would happen would be a Baltic kind of thing would happen here, because the Russians wouldn't be able to like hold on to all this land, you know. So they're gonna kind of like form like slightly smaller, like self-governing, but like not entirely self-governing countries under their ideology, so they can have them be kind of, you know, like countries, but like not countries, you know. So this is what the map would look like, because you know we don't really need all this. The United States in this scenario would be really pissed, as they just lost half their alliance, half of their allies to the communists. They still have the United Kingdom, but the United Kingdom is severely crippled from this war, as they have just so much debt from just constantly bombing the borders of countries, and they're like just completely crippled. So the countries that did survive this war would be these three: Austria, Switzerland, Liechtenstein, United Kingdom, and Ireland. But in real life, this wouldn't really happen. But you know, if you hopefully this is what you wanted. I tried my best to make this scenario as cool as possible, but there's not really much I can do with the stuff you gave me. But thank you so much for the suggestion. I appreciate it. Um, but this is what the map would look like in my opinion. Obviously, the countries wouldn't fall that quickly, as Italy probably would fight for a little bit longer. Um, France would probably fight a little longer, and Spain would probably like back France until France falls. So the countries would probably like fight a little longer. But you know, this video is already getting really long, so I don't want to have to like drag it out as much. So um, this is what it would look like. It looks kind of ugly because of all the browns and reds and stuff, but you know, that's what it is. If you want me to expand on this, please do let me know, and I will expand on it. I will actually save this map right now if you want me to expand on what I have already. Communism. Didn't spell that right, I don't think, but it's whatever. But yeah, that's my scenario. Hope you enjoyed, and if you want me to continue this, then please let me know. Thank you so much for watching, and if you enjoyed, please like and subscribe, and thank you. You guys have a wonderful day and or night, and see you in the next video. Please leave suggestions in the comments, and I will try to get to them. Thank you so much. Bye!